Top 7 foods to strengthen bones. After 60, prevent osteoporosis. Hello and welcome back to Daily Health, the channel where we talk about simple, science-based ways to stay strong, live longer, and enjoy life after 50. Thank you for joining me today. If you are new here, I want to say a special welcome. And if you have been with us for a while, thank you for being part of this growing community that cares about senior health, natural living, and long-lasting wellness. Today's video is about one of the biggest health challenges facing older adults, bone health. Specifically, we are going to look at the top 7 foods that can help strengthen bones after the age of 60, and how these foods can reduce the risk of osteoporosis. Osteoporosis is not just about brittle bones or the occasional fracture. It is about independence, mobility, and quality of life. A strong skeleton is the foundation for healthy aging. Before we dive into the details, I would love for you to take a moment and subscribe to Daily Health if you have not already. And please feel free to leave your thoughts or questions in the comments below. Your experience and perspective may help others in our community as well. Now, let's begin by talking briefly about osteoporosis. According to the National Institutes of Health, more than 10 million Americans over the age of 50 are living with osteoporosis, and another 44 million have low bone density that puts them at risk. That is more than half of all adults over 50 in the United States. Women are especially vulnerable after menopause due to changes in estrogen, but men are not immune either. What makes osteoporosis so dangerous is that it often goes unnoticed until a fracture happens. A broken hip or spine fracture can change someone's life forever, making it harder to walk, reducing independence, and sometimes even leading to life-threatening complications. But here is the hopeful part. While we cannot stop aging, we can choose foods and lifestyle habits that slow down bone loss, improve bone strength, and help prevent osteoporosis. That is exactly what today's video is all about. So, what are the top 7 foods to include in your diet after 60 to protect your bones? Let's start with the first one, and it is a delicious one. The number 1 food on our list is fatty fish, such as salmon, sardines, and mackerel. These types of fish are among the richest natural sources of vitamin D, which is absolutely essential for bone health. Without enough vitamin D, the body simply cannot absorb calcium properly, no matter how much calcium you consume. And calcium is the key mineral that makes up the structure of your bones. But fatty fish are not only about vitamin D, they are also full of omega-3 fatty acids, which are healthy fats that reduce inflammation in the body. Why does that matter for bones? Because chronic inflammation is linked to faster bone breakdown. Omega-3 fats help calm that process and support healthy joints at the same time. Research supports this. A study published in the Journal of Bone and Mineral Research in 2019 found that postmenopausal women who ate fatty fish at least twice per week had bone mineral density levels about 5% higher than those who did not. That might sound like a small number, but even a few percentage points make a real difference in lowering fracture risk as we age. So, how much fatty fish should you eat? Experts usually recommend 2 to 3 servings per week, with each serving being about 3 to 5 ounces. That is roughly the size of a deck of cards. You can bake it, grill it, or steam it. Try to avoid deep frying, as that can damage the delicate omega-3 fats and add unhealthy oils. And if you are worried about mercury in fish, small fish like sardines are an excellent choice because they are both low in mercury and high in nutrients. Here is a fun fact for you. Did you know that just 3 ounces of cooked salmon provides more than 70% of the daily vitamin D requirement for people over 60? That is a lot of bone strength in just one meal. Moving on to the second food, dairy products, including milk, cheese, and yogurt. For generations, dairy has been considered one of the best sources of calcium, and for good reason. Calcium is the mineral that makes bones hard and dense. Without enough calcium, bones become weak and brittle. Dairy foods provide calcium in a form that is highly absorbable by the body. They also contain protein, particularly casein protein, which helps reduce the breakdown of bone. And protein is important for muscle mass as well, which reduces the risk of falls that can lead to fractures. Scientific evidence backs this up. According to Harvard Health in 2021, older adults who drank at least 2 servings of milk or ate dairy daily had about 30% lower risk of hip fractures compared to those who rarely consumed dairy. That is significant when we consider that hip fractures are one of the most serious injuries for seniors. Now, when it comes to dairy, quality and balance matter. Whole milk and cheese can be high in saturated fat, which is not ideal for heart health. So, choose low-fat or fat-free milk, plain yogurt, or reduced-fat cheese whenever possible. Greek yogurt is especially beneficial because it is higher in protein and also contains probiotics that support digestive health, which can improve nutrient absorption. One thing to be careful about is pairing dairy with coffee or tea at the same time. Both coffee and tea contain compounds called tannins that can reduce calcium absorption. It is best to enjoy your milk or yogurt separately, maybe as part of a meal or snack, rather than right alongside your morning coffee. And if you are lactose intolerant, do not worry. There are lactose-free dairy options and also plant-based milks that are fortified with calcium and vitamin D. We will talk about those later in this video. So, between fatty fish and dairy, we already have 2 powerful allies for senior health and strong bones. But we are just getting started. Some of the next foods on our list may surprise you, especially one that NASA recommends to astronauts for maintaining bone health in space. Stay tuned, because that one is coming up later in the video. Now, let's move on to the third food that strengthens bones after 60, leafy greens. I'm talking about vegetables like kale, spinach, bok choy, collard greens, and mustard greens. These are nutritional powerhouses, and they do more than just keep your digestive system healthy. Leafy greens are especially rich in vitamin K, magnesium, and plant-based calcium. Vitamin K is crucial because it activates a protein called osteocalcin, which helps bind calcium into the bone matrix. Without vitamin K, calcium has a harder time getting locked into your bones, even if you are consuming enough of it. Magnesium is another mineral that often gets overlooked, but it is essential for activating vitamin D in the body. Remember, vitamin D and calcium are partners in bone health, but magnesium is the quiet third member of the team that makes sure everything works smoothly. There is strong evidence to back up the role of leafy greens in senior health. A study published in the British Journal of Nutrition in 2017 showed that adults over the age of 65 who consumed the highest amounts of leafy greens had a 23% lower risk of osteoporosis compared to those who ate very little. That is a big difference for something as simple as adding more vegetables to your plate. So how can you include leafy greens in your diet? The good news is they are very versatile. You can enjoy a fresh kale salad, add spinach to your morning omelette, blend a handful of greens into a smoothie, or lightly sauté bok choy with garlic and olive oil. The key is not to overcook them, because too much heat can reduce their vitamin content. And here is a fun little fact. 1 cup of cooked kale actually has almost the same amount of calcium as a small glass of milk. So, if you are not a fan of dairy, or if you are lactose intolerant, leafy greens can be an excellent way to keep your bones strong. That brings us to the 4th food on our list, nuts and seeds. Almonds, chia seeds, flax seeds, walnuts, and sesame seeds are some of the best choices. These foods might be small, but they are packed with nutrients that support bone health. Nuts and seeds are rich in magnesium, phosphorus, and plant-based protein. Magnesium, as we mentioned earlier, plays a key role in activating vitamin D and supporting calcium absorption. Phosphorus makes up about half of your bone structure, working alongside calcium to give bones their hardness and strength. And protein is needed to maintain the collagen framework inside the bones. Certain seeds like chia and flax are also excellent sources of plant-based omega-3 fatty acids, which reduce inflammation and support joint health. This can be especially helpful for older adults dealing with arthritis or stiffness. The evidence is compelling. A study published in the American Journal of Clinical Nutrition in 2020 found that women after menopause who included just 1 ounce of almonds per day in their diet showed improvements in bone density over the course of a year. 1 ounce is basically a small handful, which is both practical and enjoyable. So what is the best way to add nuts and seeds into your daily routine? Keep it simple. A handful of almonds or walnuts makes a great snack. Sprinkle chia seeds over your oatmeal or yogurt. Add sesame seeds into stir-fried vegetables, or blend flax seeds into a smoothie. Aim for about 1 ounce of nuts, or roughly a quarter cup per day, and about 1 to 2 tablespoons of seeds. Here is something to remember though. Nuts are high in calories, so portion control is important. A handful a day is enough to give you the benefits without adding unwanted extra weight. And here is a quick did you know moment. Did you know that just 2 tablespoons of chia seeds provide as much calcium as a third of a glass of milk? That is a great option for those who want plant-based foods for senior health. Now let's turn to our 5th bone-boosting food, beans and lentils. These are some of the most affordable and versatile foods you can find, and they are especially beneficial for older adults. Beans and lentils are packed with plant protein, fiber, magnesium, and zinc. Protein is vital for building not only muscle, but also bone. Fiber helps regulate blood sugar and keeps the gut microbiome healthy, which can actually improve nutrient absorption. Magnesium, as we have mentioned before, is essential for bone strength, and zinc plays a role in bone formation and repair. But there is another reason beans and lentils are so helpful. They support weight management and stable blood sugar. Excess weight can increase pressure on joints and bones, while uncontrolled blood sugar is linked with higher fracture risk. By keeping these factors in balance, beans indirectly protect your skeletal system. Let's look at some evidence. In 2018, a study published in the Journal of Nutrition found that men over 60 who ate beans and lentils regularly had about 15% lower risk of osteoporosis compared to those who ate very little. The researchers suggested that the combination of minerals and plant protein in beans provided a unique advantage. So how do you add beans and lentils to your diet? There are endless possibilities. You can make a hearty lentil soup, add chickpeas to a salad, cook a pot of black beans as a side dish, or try hummus as a healthy dip. Aim for 2 to 3 servings per week, where a serving is about half a cup of cooked beans or lentils. One tip: if you have trouble digesting beans, try soaking them overnight and rinsing them before cooking. This helps reduce compounds that cause gas and bloating, making them easier on the stomach. So far, we have covered fatty fish, dairy, leafy greens, nuts and seeds, and beans and lentils. That is already a powerful toolkit for protecting bones and supporting overall senior health. But we still have 2 more foods to go, and the last one might surprise you. In fact, it is sometimes called the secret astronaut food, because NASA recommends it to help astronauts maintain bone density in space. We will get to that in just a moment. But first, let's look at one more important group: fortified foods, which can be especially helpful when natural sunlight and traditional diets are not enough. The 6th food group on our list is fortified foods. Now you might be wondering, why would we need fortified foods if we are already eating fish, dairy, and vegetables. The truth is, many people over 60 in the United States are still deficient in vitamin D, even when they try to eat well. According to the Centers for Disease Control and Prevention, about 40% of older adults do not get enough vitamin D. Part of the reason is that our skin becomes less efficient at producing vitamin D from sunlight as we age. And depending on where you live, you may not get enough direct sun exposure year-round. That is where fortified foods come in. Fortified means that extra nutrients, like calcium or vitamin D, have been added to the food during processing. This is not the same as supplements, because you are still consuming these nutrients within a whole food or beverage, often alongside other vitamins and minerals that improve absorption. Some common examples of fortified foods include breakfast cereals that have added vitamin D, orange juice that has calcium and vitamin D, and plant-based milks such as almond milk, soy milk, or oat milk that have been fortified to provide the same or even greater levels of calcium and vitamin D as cow's milk. One of the biggest advantages of fortified foods is that they offer an easy way to fill in nutritional gaps without much effort. For example, if you enjoy a bowl of fortified cereal in the morning with fortified almond milk, you could already be covering a significant portion of your daily vitamin D and calcium needs before lunchtime. 4. There is research to support this approach. Studies published in the American Journal of Clinical Nutrition have found that seniors who regularly consumed fortified foods had significantly lower rates of vitamin D deficiency and better overall bone density compared to those who relied on diet alone without fortification. The key here is to choose wisely. Some cereals and plant-based milks can be high in added sugar. Look for options with low or no added sugar, and make sure you check the nutrition label to confirm that the product is fortified with both calcium and vitamin D. Aiming for at least 600 to 800 international units of vitamin D and about 1,000 milligrams of calcium daily is generally recommended for older adults, though exact needs vary depending on gender and health status. Now let us move to the 7th and final food, which might surprise you: prunes or dried plums. Yes, prunes are often thought of as a digestive aid, but they are actually one of the most underrated foods for bone health. Prunes contain a unique mix of antioxidants, including polyphenols, that help reduce oxidative stress and inflammation in the body. More importantly, they appear to slow down the process of bone resorption, which is the breakdown of bone tissue. When bone resorption happens faster than bone formation, osteoporosis develops. There is compelling science behind this. In 2011, researchers at Florida State University published a study in which postmenopausal women ate 10 to 12 prunes a day for a year. The results showed that the women who consumed prunes had significantly higher bone density in their spines and forearms compared to the control group. That is a remarkable outcome for such a simple dietary change. The recommended amount is smaller than you might think. You do not need to eat a dozen prunes daily to get the benefits. Even 5 to 6 prunes per day can make a difference, and that is much easier to manage. You can enjoy them as a snack, chop them into a salad, mix them into oatmeal, or even use them in baking as a natural sweetener. And here is a fascinating fact. NASA has actually studied prunes as a way to help astronauts maintain bone mass in space, where the lack of gravity causes rapid bone loss. If prunes can help astronauts, just imagine what they can do for seniors here on Earth. So, we have now gone through all 7 foods: fatty fish, dairy products, leafy greens, nuts and seeds, beans and lentils, fortified foods, and prunes. Each of these foods works in different but complementary ways to keep your bones strong and resilient. But before we close, I want to share with you a simple combo number 7 trick. Think of it as a bone booster plate. The idea is to combine certain foods so they work together for maximum benefit. For example, you could prepare a meal with grilled salmon, a side of kale salad sprinkled with almonds and sesame seeds, and a few prunes for dessert. This way, you are combining vitamin D from the salmon, calcium, and vitamin K from the kale, magnesium and protein from the nuts and seeds, and antioxidants from the prunes. Together, they form a powerful synergy that nourishes your bones far more effectively than any single food alone. You do not need to do this every day. Even one bone booster plate per week can set the habit and make a real difference over time. The key is consistency and variety. Try to include at least 3 or 4 of these foods regularly in your weekly diet. Now, as we wrap up today's video, I want to remind you of one important point. Bone health after 60 is not about perfection. It is about steady, mindful choices that add up over time. By including these 7 foods, you are not only strengthening your bones, but also supporting your heart, your brain, and your overall vitality. If you found this video helpful, please give it a like and share it with friends or family members who might benefit from learning about foods for seniors. And if you have not already, be sure to subscribe to Daily Health so you do not miss future videos about nutrition, senior health, and natural ways to age gracefully. And one more thing before we go. If you are curious about other foods that can help with senior health, like foods that fight arthritis pain or boost memory after 60, check out the related videos linked in the description below. I promise you will find plenty of practical tips you can use right away. Thank you so much for watching. Stay strong, stay healthy, and I will see you in the next video.